What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Jobbers and Goons, and today, this is an epic battle swap role reversal of Darkseid and Thanos, which has been heavily requested since I began the series. But real quick, smash the like button, 300 likes and more if you love this series and want to see it continue, as well as let's talk about the sponsor for today, which is myself. We have channel memberships coming back with some pretty crazy deals coming with them, including scan servers, all of my information depending on how high of a tier you are for all the videos I do, not to mention access to myself. I believe it's the second or third tier and up, they all get access to whenever we do the cafe podcast. So there's a lot of awesome perks, as well as the higher you get, the more discounts you get on purchases, with the highest tier getting half off every purchase. But it's a cool way to give back to the community, as well as you guys help me potentially go full-time with YouTube, which would be, I mean, guys, I'd be fucking unstoppable if I could go full-time. Are you kidding me? All I have to do is YouTube? We'd ball the fuck out. But anyways, we're about to get into this Darkseid and Thanos. Thank you guys so much for the love you show. And if you can't support through memberships or purchases, do so with a like and subscription. Best way to help a channel like mine. But back into this. I knew I had to do a crazy battle like this today because I got hit with a comment that said Terrax would beat the shit out of like Peak Flash. I was like, oh, whoa, today's wild. Why not do this? So first up, we're gonna have Darkseid kind of go through the rogues of Thanos. We got 12 selected for each. So first, for the breezes and warm-ups, we have Deadpool. While yes, Deadpool is hilarious, he's pretty much a gag character, being able to break the fourth wall, talk to the readers, jump from stories, stuff like that. Cool. He wouldn't have the same type of beef with Darkseid as he does Thanos. I mean, they literally beef over a bitch. That's not, Darkseid's never chasing hoes. Like, that's not how he works. I don't see Deadpool having the narrative significance to really impact that way in terms of like wild Looney Tunes type hacks. I don't see that mattering. Doesn't matter with Lobo typically when Darkseid encounters him. He doesn't have time for that shit. I see Darkseid taking him out easily. Next, we have Gladiator in the Royal Guard. Darkseid forever thinks he's him. Like, he's gonna talk shit to everyone. Literally thinks he's the GOAT. That's the worst type of character for Gladiator. Gladiator's powers, based on his confidence, Darkseid is gonna give that boy zero confidence. He's gonna be like, yo, you're a bitch. Your kingdom is mad pussy. I'm big Darkseid. I am him. Literally, Darkseid is. That shit would fuck with, I'm sorry, it'd fuck with Gladiator. He gets cooked. Next is Drax the Destroyer. Now, Drax is a character that I especially think gets taken out here because he has a literal narrative tie to Thanos. Like, he is built to go get revenge against the man who cost him everything, which is obviously Thanos, the Mad Titan. However, that won't be his connection to the likes of Darkseid, and it's going to cost him dearly. I genuinely feel like he'd just get run through at this point. Next is Captain Marvel. Now, Captain Marvel, personally, one of my favorite Marvel characters ever. He just obviously died and got replaced by that dumb bitch Captain Marvel. But Marvel was too raw, constantly running down on Thanos. However, he didn't really scale to Thanos. He just had that dog in him. And Thanos actually really fucked with him. He was like, yo, you might be my op, but you're a fucking dog, bro. Like, you always show up to scrap. Like, I rock with you heavy. That's why it was such a big deal when he died. But regardless, he dies again if he runs up on Darkseid. I'm sorry, Marvel fans. It is what it is. He's not strong enough. And then lastly, the runner with the power gem. Similar to how this kind of only made Thanos get active when he got ran down on by runner with the power gem, I kind of feel like it had the same effect on Darkseid. I don't see Darkseid being particularly bothered by this instance, even with the power gem. I just feel like he'd eventually overpower runner and be pretty comfortable in that scenario. Now, next we have, by the way, Runner also wasn't fully using the gem or whatever, not as great with it. So there's also that problem. Now let's move on to the battles and potential losses. First, we have Silver Surfer. Now, a lot of people are probably wondering, why didn't you hate on Surfer like you usually do? You actually think he'd be decent here? Well, first, it obviously depends on which version of Darkseid shows up. If it's like on average an avatar of Darkseid, yeah, Surfer could contend with him, for sure. Surfer has a fucking habit of being able to scrap characters that he probably shouldn't be able to scrap, but then he'll turn around and get beat the fuck up by characters he should definitely beat up. That's why he's such a jobber. But I definitely see him showing up and actually doing pretty well, especially because he knows like he can kind of just let loose against someone like Darkseid. I actually see him being about a mid-level battle for Darkseid. Next, we have the Avengers. I actually do see them in a lot of cases, especially against avatars of Darkseid, taking him down and being a potential loss. My reason for this is actually a couple things. One, I do feel like Thor would recognize how dangerous the inherent nature of Darkseid is. I mean, that man encountered for a few seconds Devil Hulk, you know, an immortal Hulk, and he was like, yeah, no, we're dealing with something conceptual, this is crazy. Like, he would be able to pretty much deduce the same thing, and I feel like this would in turn lead to characters like Iron Man heavily prepping and having a big impact on this fight. As a result, with the Avengers' accumulated power, I definitely do feel like they beat a lot of versions of Darkseid, especially the avatars. However, obviously, like True Form, current Darkseid, he wipes the Avengers. But if it's like the normal versions and just like an avatar, yeah, they should be fine and probably win. Next is Galactus. Now, Galactus is an interesting one. Obviously, he is also of cosmic significance. Both of them, in truth, if this was narrative, they probably wouldn't be allowed to kill each other. But if you were to say who narratively means more, it's Darkseid. Now, I do think Darkseid would win this encounter. Unlike their crossover, I do think Darkseid just straight up is at least as strong, but he's got more dog in him than Galactus. Can we be real? Galactus is kind of a bitch. You hit him back, he doesn't like it. That's why he kind of brawl with High Evolutionary. I definitely feel like Darkseid can take this high difficulty. Next, we got Thor. Thor, you know, there for a long time, in my opinion, was a lot of misconceptions about like just Surfer being above Thor when literally they always scrapped and Thor's just fine. So I always thought that was weird. Not only this, Thor's gotten stronger over the years, especially in recent modern comics. He's absolutely got that fucking dog in him. He's gonna show up and battle someone like Darkseid, really letting loose too, because he knows Darkseid is not immortal. So he knows he can really let loose. And as a result, I see this battle being harder than Surfer. I see it being mid to high, with most versions of Darkseid having a problem with Thor. But obviously, True Form, all that, they wipe. Next, and I do want to preface that, if I was using absolute peak Darkseid, and if I was using absolute peak Thanos, they wipe most. Like, it's not even close. Like, peak Thanos, obviously, using prep, getting more, you could use the hypothetical death notes, all that. We're not using that. We're kind of talking about standard, average scaling. Now, moving on to tough, and I actually think this is a loss, is God Emperor Doom. God Emperor Doom is just too much, got too much raw power, too brilliant even for Darkseid. Regular Doctor Doom would be tough for Darkseid. Imagine fucking God Emperor Doom. That's rough. I actually think God Emperor Doom takes this. Now next, we have Nova and the Nova Corps. While they're versatile, we've even seen Nova, Richard Rider, pretty much in like his prime, being able to run up on Galactus and do well. I don't see it being enough. They're not that tough. A lot of Nova Corps members are kind of like Green Lanterns and they fucking job. Kind of their natural purpose or whatever. But they do have a couple strong ones. And they could pose a threat for a little bit, but I see them ultimately losing mid-diff. And then finally, we have Nebula with the Infinity Gauntlet. Now, this is interesting. I don't think Nebula's the most dangerous to ever wield it. On top of this, when she was wielding it against someone she genuinely hates, like Thanos, with obvious familial ties. That's a kind of a different instance here. This is a weird one. This is really weird. I would understand if people say Nebula wins. Personally, I feel like Darkseid, if he was dealing with the Infinity Gauntlet, he would probably go ahead and just like take her to Apocalypse, just try to use True Form, stuff like that. He would treat it differently. I do feel that way. He could find a way to take it high, but I understand if you say he loses. So overall, how did it go with his 12 battles taken from Thanos? Well, for the breezes and warm-ups, Darkseid had 5. And for the battles and potential losses, he had 7. With 2 of them being potential losses and another one with Nebula being one I understand if you say that's the case. Now, moving on, let's talk about if Thanos had to have an encounter with Darkseid's rogues. First up on the list, we're going to have John Constantine. Now, John Constantine, I actually feel like would lose to Thanos. First of all, Constantine's not as dangerous, in my opinion, as most people make him out to be. A lot of times he straight up gets ran down on, gets beat up. I mean, usually he's got a parlor trick or two. That's not going to be enough in a random encounter with Thanos. I think Thanos would literally try to beat him up, or would just mind hacks him and go about it that way. I actually feel like Thanos is a bad matchup for Constantine, and Constantine never does well with Darkseid either. And it's for a reason. Like, if you're super powerful and you don't give a fuck about Constantine, you're a problem for him. Next, we have Black Racer. This might be weird for you guys, but hear me out, and let's just think about it. Black Racer is death. Thanos is gonna be like, yo, you work for my bitch. Like, that's dope. Like, take me. And I feel like Black Racer wouldn't want to take him, wouldn't want to touch him, and Thanos is going to beat him up for it. Like, if Black Racer takes him and gives him death, that's what Thanos wants. I don't know. This is a weird one. Let me know in the comments section below, what do you think of this encounter? What would Thanos and Black Racer do if they encountered each other? I need to know what you guys think, because that's a weird one for me. Now, next, let's move on to battles and potential losses. First off, we have Orion. Orion, Dog of War, fucking beast, always down the scraps, able to scrap Darkseid, able to scrap Superman. For obvious reasons, he's a legit threat to Thanos. However, Orion does have a literal spiritual tie to his father, and it kind of allows him to match his power and eventually be the one to take him down. He won't have that with Thanos. That might be a problem. I see Thanos taking it with absolute high difficulty. Next is Highfather. Now, Highfather I actually see being a potential loss. Highfather goes 0 to 100 real fucking quick. Like, if that man gets the first sign of a tough fight, he's going to use power from the source. He's going to call upon power from the source. Like, he's extreme as shit. Able to obviously, classically, no issues, go toe-to-toe against Darkseid to the point they got to call a treaty. I see him, due to his extreme power and his tendency to use it, I see him taking down Thanos. Next, we have Anti-Monitor. This one's tricky. Obviously, the consumer of the universe. He's run down and had wars with Darkseid before. This is a weird one with Thanos because Thanos has different ambitions than Darkseid. Probably would have different reasons for encountering Anti-Monitor. He would no doubt be trying to more so outthink and outmaneuver Monitor rather than straight up going toe-to-toe with power. This is a weird one. I feel like Thanos would not be as upfront in the battle in terms of going toe-to-toe and would try to subverge Anti-Monitor in any way possible. I see Thanos taking it absolute high difficulty, might even die trying it. Due to the way he goes about this fight, it'll be a lot different than how Darkseid did. However, I can see if you say Anti-Monitor wins. Next, we have Batman. Now, Batman in all his encounters with Darkseid has prepped for Darkseid. Whereas it was a little different with Constantine, with at one point, Constantine straight up getting ran down on by Darkseid, and Dr. Fate had to alert him. So, it's kind of different. And Batman preps hard as fuck for characters like this. Darkseid openly admits he prefers to beef with Superman because Batman will take it there, and his prep is crazy and the stuff he does is absurd. However, there was certain angles Batman could take, for example, threatening Apocalypse, that Thanos won't give a fuck about. You don't have a planet and people to threaten with Thanos. He got rid of them. So I still think he takes Batman mid to high difficulty here, even with Batman prepping. Next, we have the Justice League. I actually think it's easier for the Justice League to take down Thanos than it is for the Avengers to take down Darkseid. Now, the Justice League have the likes of modern Superman, Martian Manhunter, Batman, who at this point likely had already dealt with Thanos or prepped for him, the Flash, Wonder Woman. They have plenty of characters who alone could probably be a problem for Thanos, but as an accumulation, they would probably run down on the Mad Titan, especially in like a random encounter. Next, we have Doomsday. I see Doomsday doing Thanos just as dirty as he did Darkseid. The way Doomsday runs down on you is absolutely insane. There's no talking. There's no dialogue going back and forth. That's kind of what Thanos does. No, that's just not happening here. All right, Doomsday's just going to run down on him and start beating him up. This would be worse than Drax, anything Drax has ever done to Thanos. I actually see Doomsday beating Thanos just because of the way he fights and the constant pressure. He doesn't really have a mind to mind warp. He doesn't give a fuck about energy blast, shit like that. Like, Doomsday is going to be an absolute problem. Next, we have Santa Claus. Santa Claus, notoriously an op to Darkseid, constantly foils Darkseid when he comes to Apocalypse and gives everybody coal. Now, I actually see Thanos having some success here in beating Santa Claus. Despite his power, getting past Darkseid's tricks, Thanos could do the same thing. On top of this, it'd kind of go like Lobo versus Santa, but Thanos has a little more versatility. So I actually favor Thanos here with his encounter with Santa Claus. Next is Empty Hand. Now, Empty Hand is a character who essentially is like a walking retcon, represents aspects of the creation of the story, like writers, editors, stuff like that. Outright works for the Great Darkness. I don't see Thanos having much of a chance. You would need the absolute high ends of the best versions of Thanos to stand a chance here, not a base, regular Thanos. I see Empty Hand in pretty much all scenarios taking Thanos. Next, we have the Spectre. Now, Spectre obviously doesn't like Darkseid, because Darkseid does hood rat shit all the time. Plus, Darkseid doesn't have a cognitive sense of there being a god to bow to, right? Like, he thinks he himself is the GOAT. Spectre has acknowledged that. Now, if Spectre was to run into Thanos, I actually think he beats up Thanos. That's a bad fight for Thanos unless he's like one of his peak versions with prep. Thanos probably can't do much here to a Spectre looking to punish him, and Spectre probably does take him down. And lastly on this list is Superman, the Man of Hope. Recently gotten upgrades, Action Comics 1054, putting Superman above everything he's done before, or what's been shown by Superman before. Beat up Doomsday again recently, helped fight off the Great Darkness. His power and the Power of Hope was stated to be the greatest power in the multiverse when we had literally already seen the Great Darkness there. I mean, so many new stories and instances are insane. He like space, time, distance, concepts like that don't mean anything to him. Superman at this point would have an encounter with Thanos where Thanos would be like, oh, this is kind of like their Thor, but he's going to realize Superman represents something way different than that. And as a result, probably underestimates in the first encounter, and Superman beats him. Not to mention, I don't see Thanos having a permanent way to put down Superman. So, yeah, I probably favor like a Superman who at worst in the one-on-one is going to go all out if he has to, given he knows Thanos will go do crazy shit if he's not stopped. I probably favor Superman here. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think. Again, check out the memberships, revamped, updated, brought back. They are amazing. I encourage you to use that as a means of support if you can. But if you cannot, the best way to show support is tell everybody to subscribe yourself, smash the like button, notifications, all that, and join the Discord to hang out and be active. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. It's been your boy Jobbers and Goons, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.